Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already done so, I make new videos every single day. Literally every single day, and have been doing so for a number of years now. Okay, preface. This video might get a bit intense. I don't know where it's going to go. I know what's happening, but I don't know if it's going to be like, oh my gosh, he looks crazy. Like that kind of thing. I'm trying to explicitly figure out where all of the doom and gloom is currently appearing from. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the last couple of videos, there's been a sprinkle in between. We've had a lot of news that a lot of cryptocurrency analysts, for some reason, think that there's going to be a complete economic meltdown, failure, collapse, implosion. I mean, really. On the same note, they're all kind of making sure to announce at the same time that they think that Bitcoin and crypto, but Bitcoin will be like the main recipient of all the money that's leaving from other assets. So like, you know how like we've constantly been hearing a lot of news from a lot of analysts who are like, Bitcoin go up, Bitcoin make money, like that kind of thing. That shifted into like, yeah, the market's going to go up, but there's also going to be like a complete economic meltdown. We heard from Larry Fink recently, once again, talking about if the US doesn't get its debt under control, the US dollar is basically like kind of done. And when BlackRock said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's absolutely terrible. But it's happening all the time now in the cryptocurrency space. I'm not sure if it's just the trend of people being worried about the future. And I mean, to be completely honest with all of you, the world is definitely worlding right now. But a lot of people are discussing the actual movements of crypto there we go, and the cryptocurrency space within the context of something crazy is about to happen, but crypto will still do excessively well. This one I also thought was quite interesting because everyone has kind of jumped back on like the bullish train. I don't know where this comes from. We had a good couple of months where everyone was like, oh snaps, what's happening with the market? But now we've once again thrown ourselves into like, not only is for those of you who missed the numbers, the general idea is that this year, Bitcoin is going to hit at least $250,000. This is the number that we keep hearing repeatedly over and over. But these people are taking it a little step further. The numbers make sense, but it's fascinating once again to hear another new analyst reiterate that basically gold is done for and the US dollar doesn't have much longer. This guy's name is Joe Burnett. He's the head of market research at Unchained. Basically said, and this is also a different time frame than we've heard of before. He was talking about his Bitcoin price prediction. Everyone has a chart. He said that based off of current market conditions, that is to say, the uncertainty in the air, if we continue on this same exact trajectory, that Bitcoin's price is going to $1.8 million in under 10 years. Under 10 years, $1.8 million. This lightly fits with other numbers that we've heard before, similar to Cathie Wood, etc., etc., etc. The idea being, for those of you who don't know, is that by the time we get to like 2029 to 2031, that saucy mix, we would basically be at a $1 million Bitcoin. This says 3 years after, we'd be at a $1.8 million Bitcoin. Burnett introduced two forecast models during the program. The first one he is calling the parallel model, saying that in the next under 10 years, Bitcoin's price will be at $1.8 million per coin. And I have to throw something in there. I was chatting with a friend recently. We were sitting at a cafe, and I kid you not, when we're in public, we don't talk loudly about money just because we don't want people to stare. He leaned in and was like, do you know what's going to happen if Bitcoin like actually hits $1 million? He's like, can you imagine the people who don't own any Bitcoin? He was like, what are they going to do? Like, what happens if all other asset classes begin to fall down? He's like, so then we were talking about like, well, imagine 15, 20, 30 years. And I was like, what happens when we hit a $12 million Bitcoin? He said something along the line. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to be super rich. Like, that was kind of what he said. But then he was also like, I don't understand how other people aren't buying Bitcoin right now. You know, when Bitcoin hits $1 million, people are going to lose their minds, right? I think people think sometimes that I'm joking, but there's like a real regret that hits people even in life now. When you realize you could have done something that would have made you obscenely wealthy. It's like this kind of like a shock to the system where you're like, oh crap, I could have done that. And this one isn't abstract either. That's what bothers me about crypto and people in the market. This isn't like some kind of like a wish or a guess or a hope. We're not waiting for a star to, oh my gosh, look at the star, make a wish. No, like, you all know that Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right? We don't know if it's going to be next year. It could be in 10 years. You understand that it's going to happen based off of general supply and demand. I was watching something. There was a video. It was something about investments that people had. It was whatever. In one segment of it, they were talking to people who had purchased and kept in like, you know, sealed the original Pokemon boxes, like the ones from 1999 in the US. And they were showing a guy, he had a whole bunch of them. And the guy who was buying it, he was like, man, you're so lucky because you bought these and you held on to them. They were originally, I mean, back then, I think it was like $50 or $60 for like a whole box of the original base set. They go for, was it 150, 200,000, whatever. The point of the deal was that the guy made $1 million from selling all of these. That's abstract. No one knew back in we didn't have news back in 1999 that Pikachu was going to like really be a thing. That Charizard card was going to be like the chase, or that you should even leave these things sealed. Bitcoin, however, we get news daily that governments are buying it. Do you understand what that means if it was just one government? If there was just one government buying it along with the rest of the people in crypto, that'd be monumental. Hearing that like 15 governments are buying and 15 central banks are buying and 26 states within the United States, it's not really speculative at that point. It's more like this crap is gonna happen. It's just a matter if you're actually along for the ride. That's what me and my friend were like, how is no one paying attention? You know, and I know that some of you are. God, an amazing, love you, awesome, you're incredible. But the other part of it actually is like, for everyone else who's even in crypto, I still see people talking about meme coins all the time. You heard that the United States of America wants to buy an additional 800,000 Bitcoin, and you bought poop coin? Like, what are you talking about? It just doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense, because we're going to get to a point where a single Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million. That means that half of a Bitcoin is going to be worth more than a home. That means that by the time we get to 2040, a quarter of a Bitcoin is worth a 3-bedroom house somewhere. Imagine 2050, and it continues going on and on and on and on and on in that direction. That's what bothers me about so much of the cryptocurrency space, is our news isn't abstract. We're not hearing that someone's playing Tetris, and if they get to level 87, they're going to buy some Legos, and then they'll fit those Legos and make a gigantic monster. And if that monster gets toppled over by a wave on the beach, we know everything that's happening. This isn't This literally isn't Pokemon. He's saying within the next 10 years we'll be at $1.8 million. The second is Michael Saylor's, what he calls the Bitcoin 24 model. His shows that under 10 years, Bitcoin's base price is going to be 2.1 million US dollars. Burnett said both are good baseline scenarios, adding that actual outcomes could exceed these estimates as macroeconomic changes accelerate. I wonder how we got here. I truly do wonder how we got to the point where, it makes sense, but everyone's on the train of like, yeah, macroeconomically, it's just not looking good. But also at the same time being like, yeah, Bitcoin is totally fine. Burnett noted that if Bitcoin were to reach a market cap on par with gold, it could reach $1 million per coin. That also keeps popping up a lot as well, he said, and I do quote. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy. Bitcoin is the only absolutely rare asset in the world. No matter how much energy, no matter how much capital, no matter how much intelligence is put into it, there will only ever be 21 million coins, end quote. That's what I think people keep forgetting when I tell you that the amount of crypto on crypto exchanges continues to drop. I see comments here and on Twitter. That doesn't mean anything. People are always selling, and it's like, selling to who? The coins that are being sold, who's buying them? It's BlackRock, the institutions, and the United States of America. No matter how much you scream at the machine, no matter how angry you get, no matter how annoyed you might be, the halvings will still happen. When you are annoyed at yourself in the future because you realize you don't have enough Satoshis, you can't scream at your computer screen and say, make more. No, the halving has taken place again, and there's even less now available. Because remember, the people who are mining Bitcoin, who are they selling it to? They're selling it to central banks. How do we know that? Because the companies told us. Those are the people who are buying. All the new coins you see on the market are from retail investors who are constantly terrified, and they sell off their positions. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, Bitcoin will remain finite. It doesn't matter if you like Bitcoin or don't like Bitcoin. It's going to outperform, and has outperformed every other asset on the planet in 15 years, with 10 of those years being hyper speculative. You know how you get over speculation? You talk about governments buying and mining it and using it in trade. Wait, that's already happening. The other lightly dystopian part, he said he's expecting cryptocurrencies to take off. Here's dystopia. He's expecting cryptocurrencies to take off even more amongst the general public when people begin to lose their jobs more. He said in 10 years or less, AI will do any white-collar job for $100 a year. And I'm going to tell you why that number is relevant. He said robotics will do any blue-collar job for the same price. For those of you who don't know, AI and automation are taking over everything. Not some things, everything. And the way that the world is going in 10 to 15 years, it's kind of going to be everywhere. One of the remedies that people are throwing out there as a solution is basically that the companies who fired these people, so let's say you have a job, you're making 60, 70,000 per year, a robot takes your job. The solution these people are basically saying is that you basically tax the company and say, hey, that took a human's job. You give that person who lost that job some money as compensation. But how much compensation? Or any at all? as a way is basically saying like, cool, well, you were making 60, 70,000 a year. Here's a couple hundred per month to tide you over for the job that the robot is doing that it doesn't get tired with or about. So what's the answer there for everyone who's not paying attention to crypto right now? They then move into crypto in the future with the money that they're making from that job. And that then goes into the cryptocurrency space because these people essentially realize that the money that they could have made before, this is the problem. Why I keep screaming, why I keep hoping that there's going to be a news article, 1 billion new wallet addresses activated for Bitcoin. You have to be in some way realistic about the way that the world is moving. About when it comes to like online banking. We don't use tellers as much anymore at banks. We also have ATMs. That's another discussion. You have banking on your phone. You have self-driving cars. You have self-driving trucks. It's very easy to actually planes basically already taxi themselves a little bit, and they also fly by hitting a button. All these things can be automated. Garbage trucks, delivery, drones, robots, you name it. We don't have, calling 411 anymore. It's all on your phone. If you get a chance to look into it, automation is going to completely change the fabric of society entirely. There's not even any sector that's going to be out of it. If you haven't seen as well, like YouTube using AI to like make a character, to like make videos. Like you think that things are secure when it comes to these things, and it's like, no. Like we're actually in the future. This is what a lot of people, you have to also understand. And this is part of when you see that crypto's taking over everything, and the heads of all these companies are talking about digitization and tokenization on top of these chains, and these chains are going to be around essentially forever. You got to sit there and go, I need to get into it. I can't sit on the sidelines. The problem is that these markets will continue to do well. People holding the assets will continue to get richer. Everyone else, look into it. Like when it comes to AI, there's so many people who are ecstatic about it. And I see people on Twitter and the whole art thing that everyone was doing, when they were using that one kind of like Japanese art style for everything. And I'm like, you don't get it. We have enough technology that all these jobs can be completely obsolete in 10 years. This will then also cause more people, similar to real estate, similar to selling off gold and other assets, basically realize, I got to get rid of this stuff. I need to buy more Bitcoin because Bitcoin's price keeps going up. No one in their entirety is ready for what this future is going to bring. And that's what I think is so fascinating about all of this. I mean, who would be entirely ready and prepared for the idea of a currency that came out 15 years ago, basically being used in the future as the world reserve currency? Of course. But yeah, there's a reason, as I've stated many other times, why rich people are like falling over themselves to buy as much Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP as possible. Like think a couple steps further. When I talk about like thinking about investing, like 5, 10, 15 years, think about technologies. Think about the jobs that we had before that we no longer have. That's done by our phone. That's done by automation. Do you know years ago? I mean, like 100 and something years ago, before we even had like alarm clocks. Do you know how people would like wake other people up? There was a guy. This isn't a joke. You can find old-timey documentaries about it. There used to be a guy in the late 1800s who used to have like a long stick. He would walk up to people's windows and he would tap on it like at the time that they told him to wake them up. Isn't that insane? What's the other thing? Like old elevators used to have, you've seen like the fancy or like in Titanic. Elevators used to have people inside of them, like to like actually like, pull the lever, close the door, like all those other kinds of things. When those jobs began to disappear, I think in the 30s and 40s, people lost it because people were like, what am I supposed to do? The same exact thing like with the actual, once people got watches Like pocket watches, that became a huge thing because everyone wanted one. I watched a documentary about it. They were talking about the evolution of little things that we just don't think about anymore. We can't conceptualize someone tapping on our window because we have phones. When people figured out how to make pocket watches and everyone had one, that was a huge thing. When the telephone was invented, do you know why people were against the telephone? You would assume, I don't want people calling their family. People thought, this isn't a joke, people thought that the opera houses would go out of business. The whole point of people going to the opera was to listen to the music. If someone can hold up a telephone, find articles on it. People can hold up a telephone and have those cords go to people's homes. Why would they come to the opera? It's weird to think about, right? It's the same exact thing with the internet. Companies in the 80s thought, like, as the people were like, we have a new system of communication. I think it was AT&T, 9X, and all these other companies were like forcefully against it because they thought that people would no longer need the telephone. People at the postal service thought that, well, if people can send emails, what's the point of the post office? Isn't it? Yeah. Look into all these things. It's very fascinating to see how the world has evolved. We're at the next stage where like everything can be automated. Doors open by themselves. Cars drive themselves. Supermarkets have self-checkout. They also have, the cameras and stuff everywhere. It's really, we're in the future and we're about to be thrust even further into it as automation takes over everything. And the only way to invest in anything in the future, if rich people own all the real estate and all the land and there's like this much crypto left, what do you do? Well, I hope you've all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do sincerely hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.